Welcome back to the next part of our online talking about our project Historically Inaccurate. I have opened the screenshot that I made of the piece I want to replicate in preview. So again, I'm on a Mac and we have Mac computers in the art building that you can come and use that are attached to a printer because you're going to print this out. There's the big computer lab. You just want to check the schedule to make sure there's not a class in there. There's also the small computer lab that has the black and white printer in there. So here is my image. And I'm going to go to File and Print. And, oh, I wonder if you can see that. I'm going to need to share my screen a different way. So I'm just going to have to share my whole desktop, I think. Okay. I think you can see my desktop now. So you should be able to see the print screen because this is important. This is how it would print. This is its normal scale, and yours might be a lot smaller than that. But what we want is a form that is about 10 inches tall. So this is how we're going to do that. You see this scale window? I can make this bigger by changing the scale. So 200. So I know that this form is, this page is 11 inches tall because it's a printer page, it's 11 inches, which means that this form is not 10 inches yet because it would be a lot closer to the edges. So I need to keep making this bigger. Let's try 230%. That's pretty close. I bet that is just a touch over 10 inches. So maybe I'll do 225. Maybe. I think I'm going to stick with 230 because I think that's pretty close. So when this prints, it's going to print it at a size is what you're creating. So it'll be exactly the size you need. And in the demonstration video that I have up, I show you how to, basically you'd be kind of using a ruler and breaking this into parts that you can throw, measuring them. I show you how to do the different parts and to measure. And then if you're hand building, you want to think about how you're hand building. So let me close this. So before I get into that, here is the little printer, the black and white printer that's in the small computer lab. If you use that lab, you're looking for 5200. If you use the big lab, this is still the printer you'd want to send it to because it's the black and white printer. The color printer that's in there is, I think it's a 4700. Still send it to the smaller one if that room is open. You can always print black and white on the color printer. So you can do that too, but make sure you print it black and white and not color. And you could change that probably in the current settings. It depends on what program you're using, but as long as it's a black and white image, it should print black and white. And then make note of this scale so you can replicate it exactly if for some reason you lose your printouts. And I always print a couple of these just in case I mess up one of them. So I would go ahead and print that, and then it would be ready to go. So after you do that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because you don't need to see that. I want to talk to you about hand building and breaking the piece into sections and how we're going to build it. So let me grab the printout that I have. So this is the one that I used for my throwing demo. If we'll watch it next. So I've got this printout that I made of a piece similar to the one you have, and I drew on it and kind of split it into pieces for throwing that I thought I could throw and measured out the different distances, how this was here, the neck, all these things. So I have good information, and you'll see all that in the throwing demo video. For hand building though, we need to think about how best to hand build this form. And it's probably going to be coils. Usually I recommend doing coils for a lot of this, but you might find that you could use slab for some of it, like maybe the neck is a slab that you attach. Certainly the foot would end up being a flat slab that you would attach. And this project is all about timing. and when you do what. So with this piece, I might, since you've already coil built a cone, I might think, okay, I'm going to start by building this bottom section upside down. I can put a slab down and cut it off later, and then build this cone up, right? And then we let this firm up to, you could keep the bottom a bit wetter by wrapping it so that you could add to it later. But this top portion, you let firm up to leather hard. You can add the foot on. And when that's all nice and leather hard and your bottom is still softer, you can then flip it over. It'll support its own weight if it's leather hard. And then you could start building on to this part. You would cut off the slab that you had on here, and you would start building again onto this thing. So you would then be building like this, right? So you flip it over and you say, I'm going to build this neck. You could also try to build this separately and just attach the two, kind of like you do with throwing. You would probably get a better result though with flow to build coils off of this instead of having two pieces that you put together. When you got to the neck, you could decide that, so you would have to then let this firm up again, right? This shoulder is going to be pretty weak. So you need to let that get to leather hard. So for the neck, maybe you could do that as a slab that you've made, a slab cylinder, and then you attach it on. And then maybe you coil the lip because it needs to flare out. So you can use a combination of hand building techniques to do this. And obviously you'd be pulling handles or making slab handles. And I would recommend for sure whenever you do your handles, make sure they're around the same thickness as the piece itself. If they're too thin, they're going to end up cracking because they dry a lot faster and shrink in a different way than the piece does. So try to make them the same thickness. So really analyze your piece, and we can talk about individual pieces in class too. But think about this in sections and how best to do it and timing. So these projects you're gonna have a lot of time where you're like letting this set up. So then you go work on throwing, and it's gonna bounce back and forth. That's one of the reasons we're doing the two at the same time. So that is your project, and that is thinking about how to break down hand building. Obviously, let me know if you have any questions in class. Bye.